So the first thing I'd like to do is call your attention to the next slide, which is the Village Garage site. I'm not sure that all of you are familiar with this site. This is the Village Garage site. It's approximately 2 acres of land. It is sited between Fair Street and the Hudson River. Here you see the Metro North Railroad tracks. At one time, there were 4 tracks, and Metro North removed 2 of the tracks, so we just have 2 tracks remaining. This is north, this is south. This is the salt shed. The salt shed was constructed by Putnam County, and what it does is houses the salt for the western portion of Putnam County. The Village of Cold Spring, the Village of Nelsonville, and Haldane School all get to use that salt for free. Also on the site is a approximately 4,400 square foot building that houses, among other things, the village equipment. There's an office in there. There's a space, a climate controlled space that houses approximately 100,000 artifacts found during some of the excavations that occurred down by the Superfund site. You'll see some of the village equipment here. Village equipment is frequently placed in the building for repair and maintenance. The village crew also uses the building for projects that they perform during some of the winter months. You'll find down here the plows that are fixed to the village equipment for plowing the streets. You'll find potentially a front-end loader to assist in loading salt from the shed onto the trucks. Sometimes you will find inside the building a fire truck. When the fire truck needs to be relocated for whatever reason, it is brought to the village garage site and placed inside, where it has access to heat and electricity, which must be supplied for the fire truck to function correctly. In the winter months, those police cars which are not in use are stored inside the garage, because the electronic equipment in the cars must have heat for it to function properly. There are 4 overhead doors here which permit equipment to be moved in and out and projects to be performed. Now, so that's what we're talking about. In addition, on this site, there's a 1,000-gallon gas tank which is used to supply gasoline to village equipment. There's also, and gas pumps, of course, and there's a 250-plus gallon diesel tank which is used to provide diesel fuel for the fire trucks. All of that occurs on the site. Okay, so the next chart, this is a view from the site. Gorgeous, gorgeous view. This is another view from the site. Again, just showing you how beautiful and what a wonderful, well, I was going to stay on that one for a minute. If you look at that site, it's a breathtaking, priceless view. So, if we go on to the next one, this shows some of the material that has been removed during some of the work that the village employees perform. I should point out one other thing. There is a road to the north of the village garage site. That road goes from Fair Street to the railroad tracks. That road is used by the village employees to get into the site. It is also used by Metro North for access to a switching unit, which is just a switching unit on the railroad tracks just north of the site. Metro North must continue to have access to their switching unit through that road. So we can't eliminate that road. Okay, so we have had a couple of sessions where we solicited input from the community, and we've assembled a bunch of alternatives that we've heard about. Always the alternative is to do nothing. So that's alternative number 1. The second alternative, one of our consultants provided some renderings of various activities or various uses that the village garage site could be put to. The first phase was to create a small park. The second phase was to keep the park and add a conference center. The third phase was, of course, to keep the park and the conference center and add a 30-room inn. That would take advantage of all of the space available at the Village Garage site. At this time, we are recommending only to give consideration to the small park. The reason why we are not recommending at this time a conference center at the site is because there is discussion about Butterfield being used for meeting space. So we would like to put that concept of a conference center in abeyance until we get a better understanding of what's going to happen at the Butterfield site. The same with the 30-room inn. We would like to just focus on phase one at this time and keep our other options open for the future. So that's our thinking for alternative number 2. Alternative number 3, Jazz Reach, an organization based in Brooklyn, came up to Cold Spring and gave a presentation. They would like to use the site to construct a 4-story building which would contain a 150-seat performance center. In addition, a 20 to 25 room boutique hotel. Also a market, a cafe, and a chef's table restaurant in this structure. 10 to 15 residences, studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom, a fitness center, and public riverfront space. At this time, we think that this alternative, number 1, has too few parking spaces contained in the proposal. It requires additional land over and above the 2 acres that the Village Garage site currently occupies, and very importantly, a 4-story structure on that site would be much too tall for view sheds from the river. So we are not recommending this alternative at this time. Another alternative, which was proposed by a village resident, was to create a village social center. The Village Social Center would become the home for the Boy and Girl Scouts. It would contain space for meetings, lectures, a full-function kitchen, as well as restrooms, and a hospitality center for bicyclists and hikers who come through the village. The hospitality center would include showering facilities, lockable storage, and a washer and dryer facility. This would be particularly appealing to people who are hiking the Appalachian Trail, who are gone for weeks at a time. These are all these concepts all have merit. Again, we are thinking that these concepts could be included in the Butterfield development, so we'd like to keep this in abeyance until we understand what happens with Butterfield. Okay? Additional alternatives. And Stephanie, we discussed the railroad underpass, so I'm going to just go right over that. There was a proposal from a resident to move the garage to Kemmel Avenue, and that concept requires further study. This is something that should be investigated, but we're not recommending action to move at this time. The last concept that we received was to use the Village Garage site for the farmers market in the summertime. Right now, in looking at what the farmers market states that they need, 40 tents, each tent 10 by 10 feet square with walking space between them and sufficient parking, it appears as if the space available at the Village Garage site may not be sufficient for all of this, including the parking that is required for clients or customers as well as the vendors. So we are not recommending that we proceed with this at this time. Okay? So what we did in thinking about all of the alternatives, we came up with some guiding principles. Whatever is done at the Village Garage site should not increase taxes. The Village Garage site has one of the most breathtaking views in the village. We should capitalize on the view shed there. Whatever we do should not block residents' views. There was a statement made that at one point the village garage was a dump. So we need to determine whether or not that's the case. Right now, the tallest structure there is a 2.5-story salt shed. Nothing should be taller than the salt shed. The landscaping, we really do want, as you remember from the pile of rocks, the picture I tried to hide that Ann wanted to show to you, we could use some landscaping. If we can proceed with a park, amenities should include benches and restrooms, and we need to consider adequate traffic flow into and out of the site. This is the recommendation that we're making. This is Fair Street. This is the access road I talked about. Here are the railroad tracks. The river is here. We would have this is the parking lot that currently exists, the municipal parking lot. This is Riverview, the salt shed, the village garage itself. So what we're recommending is an esplanade and public park along here with some amount of parking, 8 spaces, and a walkway. We would have, you can see here the trees and plantings that we're envisioning. We would probably need to put in some sort of safety fence because there is a steep slope between the edge of the property here down to the river level. So that would have to be done there. Okay? So, our recommendation, an overlook park. Keep all the functions of the garage site there for the time being. Set aside a ½ acre of the property for the overlook park. It would be approximately 300 feet long and about 150 feet from the river edge as you come in past the railroad tracks, etc. Landscaping, benches, restrooms, a car parking area, a pervious walkway so that we do pay attention to the green environmental principles found in the comprehensive plan, and non-intrusive lighting. We would like to consider a path from the municipal parking lot to the village garage site so that people do not have to walk around the municipal parking lot. We want to continue to evaluate alternate spots for the village garage site. So we're not saying don't do anything, but don't move it now. Consider where we can possibly put the village garage. Continue to consider the overpass, as Stephanie mentioned, and what is so nice about the Overlook Park, it can begin immediately. This is village property. What we're suggesting is that with volunteer labor and involvement of local groups, we can form a Friends of Overlook Park group, which could begin looking for money, developing a plan, doing fundraising. We could envision the garden club coming in and helping with the landscaping. So it's something that could be done totally within the village. Okay? And there we have it. That's what we